Today's lecture is going to be about schizophrenia and mood disorders. And let me tell you, I have typed schizophrenia so many times that now I definitely know how to spell it without looking. Fair warning, disclaimer, today's lecture is going to be a little bit longer than the ones that we've had the past couple days. Just letting you know. Okay, so today's vocab words: schizophrenia, delusions, hallucinations, major depressive disorder, and bipolar disorder. So what is schizophrenia? This is a disorder that's talked about quite often, but really there's a lot of confusion about what schizophrenia really is. So let's start off with a definition. It's actually a group of disorders. It's not one single disorder, but it's characterized by confusion and disconnected thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. Generally, there's a significant problem with cognition involving emotions, perception, and motor functions that can be affected as well. And it affects about 1% of the population worldwide. Generally, the thought process is going to be disturbed. So there's a wide variety of symptoms that this can look like, and each form of schizophrenia will have its own symptoms that we can evaluate further on in the lecture. Generally, schizophrenia is marked by a struggle to communicate. So you might have heard of word salad. It's like words come out of the mouth and they might kind of follow a logical order, a grammatical order, but it doesn't really make sense. And there's a disjointed flow of the conversation. And what happens is people are using associations to speak because they've forgotten what was being said. So you might be talking about trucks, and then somebody with schizophrenia will talk about a truck with a red door, and then talk about red apples, and then talk about apple pie, and then so they're drawing these associations and they're kind of missing what's happening in the conversation. Schizophrenia is often marked by delusions and hallucinations, and this is what we typically think of when we think of somebody with schizophrenia. So delusions are false beliefs that a person maintains in the face of contrary evidence. This is common with schizophrenia. Same as hallucinations, where you have a perception that has no direct external cause. So hearing voices, seeing things that aren't there, things like that. So there's a disturbance effect. And all this is saying is that people with schizophrenia often have emotions that are not appropriate to the circumstance at hand, and they can vary widely in a short period of time. Generally, there's a deterioration in normal movement as the disease progresses, and overall, there's just a decline in functioning. So there are types of schizophrenia. The first type we're going to look at is the paranoid type. So this person who experiences paranoid schizophrenia might experience delusions of grandeur. So they really have a heightened sense of self-worth. They have the savior complex where they are going to save the world, and they are crucial to everyone's life. And then there's also delusions of persecution, which is the opposite side of that, where people are always out to get them, and they're very afraid of that. There's catatonic schizophrenia, and this is where a person will go into a catatonic state, so they're not perceiving the world around them, and they will remain motionless for long periods of time, and often they can be frozen, like their bodies are frozen in very weird or odd, unusual positions, and it will take a long time for their body to go back to what would be a normal position to be in. There's disorganized schizophrenia, which is exactly what it sounds like. There's a whole host of things that are happening. There's incoherent language. There are inappropriate emotions. Can be marked by people like laughing for no real reason, a disorganized movement, and they experience hallucinations and delusions. Schizophrenia can go into remission. This means that your symptoms can go away, or you are undergoing treatment, so your symptoms are not to the level where they impair your functioning in society. However, with remission, it is understood that symptoms will likely return at some point. And then there's undifferentiated type of schizophrenia, which has all the basic symptoms of schizophrenia. So you can, as I mentioned, treat schizophrenia. However, it is complex, and it's not just like you go to treatment one time and you're done. It's a long-term treatment. Often people with schizophrenia will have to be hospitalized for a period of time. As I mentioned, it is possible to recover, but you're never cured from schizophrenia, and it is likely that your symptoms will return. There are varying theories on what causes schizophrenia. There are likely biological or genetic influences. So generally, if someone in your family has schizophrenia, you or your family members are also more likely to develop it. There are theories about biochemistry and physiology, meaning that there are just chemical imbalances in the brain that cause schizophrenia. And then family interactions. This is generally not a cause of schizophrenia, but being part of a negative environment can impact mental health in general. So if you are in a family with somebody with schizophrenia, generally that like a family will revolve around a person with issues, so you will develop maybe your own issues in coping with the fact that a family member has schizophrenia. We're also looking at mood disorders. So major depressive disorder is when you have a severe form of lowered mood. So this will last for 2 weeks or more, and there's feelings of worthlessness. You generally, if you have major depressive disorder, you're not experiencing pleasure or interest in activities that most other people would enjoy. Generally, this is plagued with problems eating, issues sleeping, generally problems thinking linearly or concentrating, issues making decisions. Generally, there's a lack of energy, and people with major depressive disorder can sometimes be suicidal as well. Bipolar disorder, this is what it used to be called. We now call it manic depressive disorder, but it's a disorder in which individuals alternate between like mania, which is euphoria or extreme happiness, and depression. So we'll look at each of those stages separately. So the manic phase can be attributed to feelings of elation, being super happy. There is generally some level of confusion or distractibility in the person. They have racing thoughts, exaggerated sense of who they are, irresponsible behavior. You can see somebody spending a bunch of money that they don't have in a manic phase. Just generally seeming very high, not like in the drug sense, but like elevated mood. The depressive phase is similar to the major depressive disorder, where you're overcome by feelings of being a failure, or you are a sinner, you are worthless, generally feelings of despair during the depressive stage. They're lethargic and unresponsive. Another mood disorder is seasonal affective disorder, which most people attribute to wintertime. However, you can also experience it during the summer, but generally what happens is people experience a deep depression in the winter, and during this time they often will eat more, they'll sleep more often, and then once spring comes around and things start to become brighter and less gray, then they will kind of come out of that. But this is a cyclical thing. There are mood disorders as well. Part of mood disorders would be suicide and depression. So the thing that I really want to focus on with this is not all suicidal people are depressed or appear depressed, and not all depressed people think about suicide, though many of them do. And I just wanted to put this out there. If you are struggling at all, especially in the world today that we're living in, if you're struggling with depression or thoughts of suicides, please reach out for help. The suicide hotline is always available. It is 1-800-273-8255. So today's main idea, again, we focus on schizophrenia. And it involves disordered thoughts, and mood disorders involve disturbances in the way we experience and express emotion and depression. Today we have an assignment on reflecting on schizophrenia, and this will be due Friday, May 8th. So there's a short video included in the Google Classroom. It is in our YouTube playlist, and I will link it at the bottom of this video. It's called Cecilia's Life with Schizophrenia. It's available, like I said, on YouTube, linked in the Google Classroom. Please watch this short video. An individual is doing an interview with somebody who has schizophrenia. Part 2, you're going to write a paragraph reflecting on living with schizophrenia. So ideally, you would draw connections, draw comparisons with the video on Cecilia's life and what you learned from our lecture and the crash course on schizophrenia. This is worth 10 points and it will be due Friday, May 8th. And that is all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, please reach out. My email is brittany.dambro@lansingschools.net. Hope you guys are doing well. Take care.